Well, good morning and welcome to day 2 of this year's Virtual Student Success Summit. This opening session, by the way, is sponsored by Xi Books. We want to again make a special point of thanking each of our platinum sponsors in particular, but all of our sponsors who have helped make this virtual summit possible. And Xi Books is our sponsor for the opening of this session. And then Corey's actually going to have another sponsor who is sponsoring our keynote this morning. Remember our theme for the entire summit. We are building the future of learning. I hope you felt like you had an opportunity to hear some content yesterday about the future of learning here at Ivy Tech, and you will have a chance to hear more today. Well, normally on Friday morning, we might try to find out who had some good luck at the casino the night before. Obviously, we won't talk about that this year. But remember, we'll be back in French Lick again in the future. Our summit for the 2021-22 academic year has already been scheduled. So put this date on your calendars. March 31st to April 1st, 2022 is when we have every expectation of being back together in French Lick. I hope you're all primed and ready for a great day together. And now, I'm going to once again turn the virtual microphone over to my colleague, Dr. Corey Klossman, for a few remarks. Corey?
Good morning, everyone. I want to echo Russ, as I hope you've all had a wonderful day 1 of the summit and found some helpful pieces of information to take back to your work. Before we get going, I do want to thank Purdue Global for sponsoring our keynote session this morning. So thank you, Purdue Global. Dr. Telly Sellars is the Dean of Technical Education at Jefferson Community and Technical College in Louisville, Kentucky. He's also a specialty trainer with the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Dr. Sellars was born and raised in Lynch, a coal mining community in southeastern Kentucky. Dr. Sellars has served in several leadership positions, including coordinator of counseling at Jefferson Community and Technical College, president of the Kentucky Academic Advising Association, Community and Technical College State Representative for the College Personnel Association of Kentucky, Executive Board Member of the Cornerstone Child Development Center in Louisville, Kentucky, and a member of the Transit Authority of River City Accessibility Quality Control Committee. Known as Dr. Telly, he has become a sought-after public speaker and regularly speaks at national and regional conferences and professional development events. Dr. Sellars currently lives in Louisville, Kentucky with his wife, Heather, and 3 daughters. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Telly Sellars. Welcome, Telly.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Corey, thank you for that introduction, and thank you all so much for being here. Well, first off, I cannot thank, to mimic what Russ was saying about how much work it takes to put on a summit like this and an event. For everyone who was involved in that, thank you so much, particularly with me, Dr. Baker, Russ, Kara, Gretchen, Corey, everybody has been so helpful. And I know you don't see these, you may not see these folks all the time, given everything that's going on, but if you see them, give them a pat on the back and give them a dab or just give them a virtual high five or something, because these events do not happen overnight. It's a lot of work. And just with my keynote, making sure we had the technical stuff worked out, it was a journey. So thank you, everyone. And make sure you thank those folks and all the work that they've done. So I'm so pumped to be here this morning to kick off your Friday, day 2 of the summit. And my name is Telly Sellars, and please call me Telly. And I jokingly say, if you're over 30 years old, you say my name like Telly Savalas. If you're under 30 years old, you say my name like Telly Tubby, because you have no idea who Telly Savalas is. And I'm just imagining people. I wish I could see your faces and imagine people on their phones and keyboards like, who is Telly Savalas on Wikipedia? And for those who don't know, I was named after Telly Savalas. He had a show in the 60s and 70s, or multiple shows and movies, and he's probably most famous for, and may come up in the chat or Q&A, but Kojak. He had a show called Kojak where he had a lollipop, and he'd always say, "Who loves you, baby? Telly loves you." Real silly. So thank you all so much for having me this morning. And now what I do full time, as Corey said, I work at Jefferson Community and Technical College, just right over the Ohio River into Kentucky. And to my friends and family over in Sellersburg at Ivy Tech, great to connect with you today in a different way. And thank all of y'all for being such great partners. Ivy Tech, what a wonderful organization and what you're doing. And I think the work that I do every day and the work you do, I think we have a lot in common when it comes to improving the lives of students and making Indiana and Kentucky better places to live and work and have fun. I'm going to go through my session, but I really only have two two big themes I want you to focus on today as we talk about creating a positive work environment. Okay. The first thing is I want you to have fun. I'm going to challenge you I'm going to be a little silly today. I'm going to challenge you to be a little silly. You're going to use the Q&A and kind of have some fun with me. But the point is you got to choose to have fun. It's not going to happen on its own. So you got to choose to be a little silly. So if you don't be one of these people, it's like, I don't want to be here this morning. Like, don't be that person. Be the person that's going to have a little fun and take some risk. And the second thing is these summits and these events that we have are about thinking differently. It's about, when you leave doing something in a new way or challenging yourself to have a different behavior or to think differently. So if we keep that same theme of, having fun and challenging ourselves to think in different and new ways, then we're going to have fun and everybody's going to win. And that's really what it's all about. Awesome. So speaking of being silly and have a little fun, I want to start off here with a story that was reminded me when I was putting this message together. So first of all, happy holidays. I know we have Halloween tomorrow. I know we have Thanksgiving coming up, and then we have our, of course, holiday season. But I was simply reminded when I was putting this together of a story of a student I was working with. And Derek, wonderful guy. Derek came to see me like our community and technical college students do. And he's like, Telly, I'm really struggling right now. I'm in a job that's okay and not making enough money. I'm all right. The place I'm living it's okay. It's not the best. And I'm in a relationship and it's okay too. And I'm really struggling with school. I'm getting by, but I'm barely getting by. So like a good advisor, counselor, faculty member would do, I sat down with Derek and we kind of talked and I listened and we kind of mapped out some things that he could do for action items. And I didn't hear from him. And he's supposed to email me back. I didn't hear from him. So I didn't hear from him till the end of the semester. And I get this random email and he says, Telly, or Dr. Telly, hey, I'm doing much better. I just want to check in. That relationship I was in, yeah, it's over. I'm single now and I'm much happier. I'm feeling so much better about it. That job I had that wasn't paying very good, I'm in a new job working with better people and I make a little bit more money. And the apartment that I was in, I changed apartments. I'm in a much healthy and safer place. I'm doing so much better. And he said, I even have enough money to buy myself a Christmas tree this year. And it said, see attachment. And the dork put this. And I just thought that was so funny. And I was so silly, but also at the same time, I'm thinking, he's finally using those critical thinking skills that I've been talking about. So anyway, I think you're going to be silly this morning. All right, well, let's get started here. So what do you expect today in my session? What should you expect? So we're going to be using the Q&A feature. There's going to be some times that you can stop and ask some questions or give some feedback. This is going to be highly participatory. You're going to be engaged. If you're in a place where you can, it would help to have a piece of paper, maybe if I give you some homework assignments or something to think about. I may bounce back and forth from the PowerPoint and myself. I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but it may happen. As I said, have fun and learn something new. And you know what? Be courageous today. Use that Q&A. While Russ was speaking and Corey was speaking, people are already popping in to the Q&A in the chat. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. But I always challenge people is, we're asking our students every day to be courageous and get uncomfortable. That means we should do the same thing, right? We have to model that behavior and do the same thing as well. So why are you here today? This is actually your mission statement that I pulled off of your website. And it says all the things that it needs to say, particularly when it comes to a community and technical college, right? You're creating affordable, you're creating access, you're deriving career aspirations and transfer operations, economic transformation, all those things. I absolutely love the theme of your summit. I probably will steal that. Gretchen, don't kill me or Russ. I may steal that for something we do at Jefferson. I love that, building the future of learning. And the reason I want to pull this up is because I become very frustrated when I watch the news or I'm reading papers or, I'm reading articles and we always talk about things, but people aren't talking about the great things that we do at community and technical colleges. And I think that national conversation's changing, but every day, you are helping people and you're changing lives. So I want you to know, from me to you may not be on the front page of the paper every week, but every day you're helping people and you're changing lives. So give yourself a pat on the back and stick up for it and be proud of what you do and stick up for it, because we do wonderful work and what you're doing truly helps people and it changes their lives. All right, so we're going to do an exercise. And the questions are very simple. I want you to think about this in your mind. And you may even take your finger and kind of visually imagine who you're pointing to. So I want you to do is, at work, who's the leader? Who's the leader? All right, so in your department, at your college, at your campus, who's the leader? So just think about that for a second. Okay, everybody got it? Are you seeing that person? Okay. So normally when I do this, most people think about one or two people. But number one, some people say the Lord. They're this way like preaching. Yes, Jesus, that's who's the leader, which is true. I mean, if you go that way, absolutely. But some people always point to their boss at work, or they'll say like, well, it's the my supervisor, or it's the local chancellor. So, if you're a faculty member, it might be the program coordinator, or if you're an advisor, it might be the director of advising. Okay, so I'm going to challenge that today, because those are all true as an organizational leader. But who's the leader? Well, you're the leader. I want you to point to yourself. You're the leader. And the reason that you're the leader is because leadership, I mean, we have like org charts and pyramids, but leadership has more to do with influence, right? It's more about, if you show up to work, you're the leader, because you're going to influence people around you. So if we're going to set the stage for talking about a positive work environment, then you have to understand that what you bring to work is going to have a huge impact on that environment. I mean, let me just make an example. You ever been at work and had one of your colleagues come to work and they walk in the door and you're like, something's wrong with her, or something's wrong with Jerry. Something's wrong. Something's wrong. And it's not that they look different. They look the same. I mean, they look nice. Their shoes match their purse, whatever. They look fine. But you can almost sense it, like something's not there. With your students, when you're teaching, students come to class, you can sense it. As a parent, if any of you are parents, the same thing. You can kind of sense that something's not right. So one of the key things for this session, and one of the key things that you could take away from today, is know that in all things, if you show up to work, if you participate, you're the leader. And you don't have to be the vice president or the president or the director or the coordinator to be the leader. If you show up to work, you're the leader. And I think that makes some people pretty uncomfortable. But if you really want to make a change, like every time you guys interview people now and you have an open job position, ask the person. Ask him. When you ask him their strengths and weaknesses and give us an example where you failed or unsuccessful, ask him, say, are you comfortable being the leader here? And they're going to say, well, I didn't know this was a management job. But really what you're trying to say is that, are you comfortable knowing that in all things you do, it's going to influence people around you? I do a lot of coaching and speaking and consulting on the side, and people always tell me why it's everybody's fault things aren't successful. Or they'll tell me, if so-and-so only did this, or if this other person would change this. But I don't think we take the time to look at ourselves and who we are and what we bring to the table. So I don't mean to get all Michael Jackson on us here, but I am talking about the person in the mirror. I'm talking about yourself, because things will never get positive and things will never maintain positivity or be positive if we don't look at ourselves and know what we contribute. So anytime today when I say, who's the leader, point to yourself. You're the leader. You're the leader in all things. So that's key. You're the leader. But also, what's our purpose? Well, our purpose is to serve other people. And I know we don't work in community and technical colleges for the money. That's for sure. We work here because we want to serve other people and improve their lives. And how do we do that? We do that by, how we work together, how we communicate with each other, how we treat each other, how we model behavior, and many more. So thinking about the fundamental of everything we do for this morning session, and really for the rest of the day, who's the leader? Do I have the ability to influence others around me? And what's my purpose, which is tied to what we do in serving other people. All right, so let's keep that thing going. I love this quote. This is a quote from Leroy Elms, and I love this quote about leadership. And it says, a leader is one who sees more than others see, who sees farther than others see, and who sees before others do. So it's a whole perception of thinking about things in different ways, challenging ourselves to think outside the box a little bit. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to give you some, and these are silly, but they're absolutely true. These are some questions and comments from my children and some friends of mine, their children, and it gives us some examples of what I mean by thinking differently. So let me give you an example. This is actually from one of my twins. This is from Kate. And when Kate was in preschool, they're learning about the seasons, the weather, and how seasons change. And I asked my daughter, I said, Kate, can you tell me why do birds fly south for the winter? And in the most confident voice, she looked at me and said, well, Dad, they fly there because it's too far to walk. And it's silly, but I love the way she's thinking. It was a total new way to look at something. This is from my friend's son. Okay, if there are any parents in here or people who watch kids or have kids in their house, you know how like you clean your whole house and it's perfect, and then in 2 hours your kids destroy it. You know what I mean? Like you get everything prepped and there's cups of tea or water everywhere, and underwear and pajamas and toys. Like the kid can destroy a house. So my friend comes home from work and he is frustrated. He comes in, sees the house, and he says, why is this house always messy? It's always messy. And his son looks at him and says, don't worry, Dad. It's always clean every morning. it's magic. And the dad's like, and I'm the magician. I'm the one cleaning this house every night so you can destroy it. Oh, goodness. This is from my other daughter, Ava. They're learning about fire and rescue at school. And I said, Ava, so what do you do if there's an accident? Who do you call? And my daughter says, well, Dad, you call the hammer. That's who you call. And if you don't have a hammer in Indiana, you probably have a 1-800-Ask Gary or a Kaufman, Stigger and Hughes or somebody. But I love the way they're thinking. This is from my sister's son. She's at church, and the preacher says, does anyone here have any prayer requests? And my nephew stands up and says, I do, preacher. Please pray for my mama. She's been swearing too much lately. And she's like, I'm going to kill you. Oh, goodness. This is from my friend's son. I love this one. He the same one that had the house being destroyed. The son said, Dad, can we get a cat? And he said, I'm sorry, son, but no, your mom's allergic to cats. So no, we can't get a cat. So his son says, when mom dies, can we get a cat? Which is awful. But critical thinker saw it a different way. Mom's the problem. Let's just get rid of mom. And then I'll get a cat, right? Kind of connected all the box there. That's what it's about. Oh, my God. So why are you here today? You're here at my horrible attempt to be funny over Zoom. You had nothing else to do. Your boss forced you to attend. Why are you here? You're here because all of you are powerful people. One of the best ways to improve the lives of the people we serve, which are our students and our workforce citizens and the citizenry of Indiana and really the world with online learning, is we have to take care of the people who take care of them. And that's you. So the reason we have these summits and the reason we have these events and the reason we invest in technology and all these things is because if we don't take care of you, we don't take care of the people that we are intended to serve through our mission and through our vision. And what it boils down to is that you really matter. You absolutely matter. You are important, and we all need you. I need you. I live in Kentucky. I work in Kentucky, but I don't win if my brothers and sisters across the river don't win either. And we all have to win together. And, in my full-time job, our board chair, Jim Lancaster, I wish I said this. It was so meaningful to me, and it stuck with me. He always says in our meetings and to our board members that community and technical colleges are the hope divide for our region. There are not many organizations that have the ability to make such a large impact on people's lives. And I know every single one of you have seen this. Every single one of you have worked with a student where you've seen them go through your course, complete a credential, get a much better job, either move out of poverty or move into the middle class or create more opportunity for their families. So you matter. You are important, and we absolutely need you, and all of us need you. And we need you not just in the classroom. We need you in that relationship building, all those things. And the data says this too. If you look at some of the data points, this is, from Noel and Tinto and all those people that we all know, it talks about students who build social connections are more likely to complete their first year of college, right? So it's not just you're coming to school to do academic work, is that you feel connected, you feel a part of this, you feel appreciated, right? You feel connected, you feel like you're in a really good environment. Most students who withdraw don't do so not because of poor academics, because of the other things in their life. And I've seen that time and time again where very smart students, most students don't withdraw because of the academic rigor. It's just because their life gets in the way. They don't have time to get to class, or their job makes them stay, or their mom gets sick, or their kids have to miss school for some reason. So that's absolutely true. And then the last one is specific to faculty. As a faculty member, I'm always a big advocate whenever we talk retention strategies and student success strategies, that ultimately, if faculty engagement does not happen in the classroom, we don't create resources for that, most of these student success initiatives will fail, right? Because faculty are going to have so many minutes and so much time with the people in the classroom. I'm in charge of our technical programs, and our technical programs typically have a little bit higher retention than our general education programs. And it's not because, we're doing anything better than our gen ed partners. It's just that when you take these technical programs, you take an automotive program, you're with your students for 10 hours a week for one class because of labs. When you're doing these programs that have labs and highly intensive, you have much more time to build these relationships with them. And that's where that environment takes place. Whereas if you were to teach, say, a math class or an English class, you may only have your student for, say, 2.5 hours or 3 hours a week. So all this engagement, all this stuff that we're talking about, it does exactly what your theme is intended to do, which is building the future of learning and building that connection and doing that. That's really what it's all about today. So, okay, so we're going to move forward with how do we do this? So I've kind of preached enough this morning. How do we create a positive work environment? Well, there's thousands of ways to do that. I could write down a million things we could do. But we only have, at the end of the day today, probably an hour. So we're going to talk about four. We're going to talk about 4 things that you can do when you leave here to help create a positive work environment where you work and maybe even in your personal life as well. Okay. So here's what we're going to do first. I'm going to show you 10 items. There's 10 things I'm going to show you, 10 items. And I want you to, if you get your piece of paper with you, you can write this down. I want you to rank them. Okay. I want you to rank them from 1 to 10. So kind of like a race. What's the most important down to the bottom to what's the least important. So number 1 would be the best. Number 10 would be the least. And after you rank those on a piece of paper or in your mind, whatever you want to do, I want you to go to the Q&A box and I want you to type in your top 1 or 2. Okay. So here's what we have. It says, what do people want? I'm going to say at work. We're going to put a little caveat. What do people want at work? So it says money, interesting work, appreciation, job security, being an insider, promotion, sympathy for problems, working conditions, loyalty from the company, and tactful disciplining. So let's take about just 1 or 2 minutes. I'm going to be quiet here for a second and think about that list. And if you would, go to your Q&A and type in your top 1 or 2. Yeah, and some of you made great comments of adding some suggestions, which is fantastic. I think someone was talking about where does belonging fit into this? And we're going to talk about that. Absolutely. Where does that belonging fit into this list? Yeah. Looking at the list, one that came up for some of you was money. And of course, money has to be on. What do people want to work as money? I don't think I've ever had a job and said, it don't matter how much it pays, I'm going to do it. Yay. Like there's maybe at a different time of my life in the future, I could not worry about that. But people take a job to get paid. You got, if you're not getting paid, you're a volunteer and a job, you're coming to work to get paid a salary. So I definitely think money is a part of that. Now, how much money would be dependent upon, of course, the person, but a job is money. So what do people want to work? They want to get paid. A second one, someone said, there's a lot of appreciation on there. I think appreciation is definitely important. We're going to dive more into that here in a second. But appreciation is just someone acknowledging what you're doing and being intentional in how they say thank you, right? We have job security. I saw a lot of that. I actually think in today's time with everything that's going on, job security might move up on the list. I wonder if we were to ask the same question a year ago, if job security might be a little lower because of what's happening with our country. So I wonder if that was kind of on the list as well, but definitely job security. So people are like, you want to get paid. You want to know if you keep showing up, there's a job. We had loyalty from the company, which I think is also connected. I think that term kind of changes too. Like if anybody here had like my grandfather worked for the same company for like 30 years, right? So that's not as common as it used to be. A lot of people change jobs, but I think that's definitely loyalty from the company is important. And then interesting work. And interesting work, when I first did this, I put interesting work on the top as well. And the reason I put it on the top is I think it's because how you define interesting work is just unique to you. Anybody ever watch those shows on like the Food Factory on the History Channel and some of those shows? There's a show on there where they show how they make food and process food. And they were making White Castle cheeseburgers, the frozen ones that they sell at the Dollar General, which are delicious, right? So they're showing White Castle cheeseburgers. And they're showing the production line. And at the end of while they're going through the line, there's a lady and she's got this big stack of cheese. And she's holding this cheese and she's just putting cheese on the cheeseburgers. And she's smiling. She's just happy. Yeah, and she's like, I've been here 17 years and putting cheese on there. And I was like, oh my gosh, shoot me in the face now. Like I would never do that job. Like to me, that's not interesting. But she's so happy. She was so happy. She talked about her career and what she's doing and why she feels like it's meaningful for her to make these for people to eat, which is great. But I wouldn't know if I'd define that interesting from my side. So I think interesting is very personal. Some ones that I didn't see come up was tactful disciplining. I didn't see sympathy for problems or promotion. But what we all said is pretty common to what I'm seeing as well when I've done this before with other groups. Now, we were fortunate enough to send out a poll beforehand. I'm not sure if you all finished this, but I want to show you those results. So if we go to the poll, there we go. We go to the poll and it says, what do you think most people want at work? And it's pretty consistent, I think, with what everybody said today. You've got 39.7% being appreciation, 28.2% being interesting work. The next at 9.2 is money. Got to get paid. And then we moved down to sympathy for problems and the other. So I think that's pretty consistent. So here's why I asked you that. So I know that as a group, we've all identified some things that make sense for us and our list. Well, there was a study done, and the study's about 30 years old, but I do believe it's applicable to today, absolutely applicable today. So what they did is they took this same survey, these ranking of items, and they gave it to managers, okay? They gave it to people who supervise people at work, who have people reporting to them. And they asked them, what do your people want at work? What do you think your people want? Rank these items. So I'm going to go through these and tell you what the supervisor said their people want. Number one, a manager says people want to get paid. So if some of you put that on your list, then congratulations, you got that one right. You got that one right. So they want to get paid. They said money. And it's the same thing you would think it is. A manager says when you're working here, you're working for pay, you're working the job. So I got to pay my people. That's why I'm going to pay them. Number two was job security, which makes sense because I'm going to pay you. And then if you keep showing up, then I'm going to keep paying you. It's a logical progression there. I pay somebody a salary. If I pay them good, they're going to keep showing up. So my job as the manager is to create opportunities where they can keep showing up, keep doing that. Number three is promotion. Now, nobody said promotion. And I think here's why, because I didn't define the terms of what each of those meant. I wanted to see from your perception, maybe where you fit. Promotion just means opportunity for growth. So it could mean, you're an assistant director and then you move to a director, or you're an assistant professor and then you move to a professor. So that makes total sense. You could do that. But it also could mean, you're in a role where someone comes to you and says, hey, will you please lead the party planning committee? See, I told you how to reference the office. Would you please chair this committee? Or, hey, we have this statewide conference going on. We need someone to chair it. Would you consider chairing it? I think you can do this. I'm really seeing your growth and you're ready for this. Or maybe you're, a member of the curriculum committee and then someone asks you to chair that after a couple of years. So I think promotion means not so much a big position jump as much as it means someone creating a path for you to gain more skills and to grow. So it's really growth. So money, job security. 3 is promotion and growth. Number 4 is working conditions. And I think working conditions means, and that came up a lot on the list, it could mean like respect and some teamwork. And I think someone talked about the belongingness, but I think in this case, they mean it as like your physical environment, like ecology. Is it safe? Do I have to wear a sweater in the summer when I come to work? Are the facilities nice? Some of those things. And then number 5 is interesting, which we kind of talked about. The bottom 6 are loyalty from the company, tactful disciplining, appreciation, sympathy for problems, and then being an insider. So if you notice on the manager's rankings, it's very, very tactile, very like structured, like very organizational focus. Like this is how much money you're going to make. This is where your job's going to be. Here's your path for promotion. I'm going to put you in a nice area. The top 4 are very kind of just tactile, where if you look on the other side, the bottom 6, it's more talking about discipline and appreciation and sympathy, being an insider, sympathy. Are you listening to me? That kind of piece. So that's the manager's ranking. So then they took this same survey, and I think there's some stark, the manager is not putting the things at the top that we put down. It's not personable. It's not like appreciating somebody and being sympathy and providing sympathy for their problems, listening to them is more personal. It's less, it's not as organizational, if that makes any sense. All right. So what the managers did, we got their rankings. Well, then they surveyed all the people that report to the manager. And they asked them, complete the same survey. And the first thing they said is going to be my first tip today. This is the most important thing you can do, that you can do every day to create a positive work environment. And you probably already know the answer because many of you already put it down on the survey. And that's appreciation. Appreciation. Without a doubt, I do not think that we appreciate the people we work with or our students enough. And the reason we don't appreciate them, it's not because we don't care about them. And it's not because they're not important to us. It's because we're just too busy. We got so much going on. Even even our phones, right? We have so much going on. You get so busy, you're just focused on getting your like ARE institutional effectiveness report done, or your budget's due, or with everything we're dealing with the world right now, you're having to think outside the box when it comes to teaching and helping your students. So what I'm challenging all of you to do today is the research says, without a doubt, if we can find a way to stop and appreciate people it will create a meaningful experience for them. It changes the way people think and feel. It's so critical. It's so important. I mean, when I get a thank you card in the mail, you think I've won the Powerball or the Mega Millions. I get a thank you card in the mail, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look, I got a thank you card. They can still write cursive. This is amazing. I get so excited. And then I'm like, oh, look, they put a stamp on it. How much is a stamp? $10,000 today? How much is a stamp? I mean, the post office is, taking the time to say thank you to somebody or intentionally acknowledging them is critical. Now, as a college, we do this anyway. We have graduations. We have graduation ceremonies. If you're in these nursing, you have a pinning ceremony, right? We have these mechanisms, these structures that are built in place, but I don't think we do it enough for each other. We don't stop to think about how am I going to take 5 minutes today and appreciate somebody? Here's some quotes I want to bring up to kind of guide my comments today. It says, in simple terms, recognition is about what people do, where appreciation is about who they are. When you say thank you to somebody or you appreciate them, the more specific that you can get in appreciating them, the more meaningful and powerful it's going to be. So you don't just say to somebody, hey, thanks for the extra help today. And that's wonderful. That's fine. But it means so much more if you personalize it. If you say to somebody, hey, thank you so much for the help today. I had students waiting to see advising out the door, and I know you had to leave before, but thank you for staying till 5 to help me with those students. I've been here all night. It's that you've got people who got your back, and the more specific you can say in recognition of what they do for you and just thanking them personally, it makes a big difference. The practice of gratitude and appreciation has started to infiltrate workforces from new software companies to established institutions. Now, the reason this is important is because it's an old comment. People don't quit their job, they quit their boss. People don't quit their job, they quit the people they work for. So if by creating a culture where we appreciate each other, you addressing all those things around people are successful anyway. It is how you treat the people who you work with and the people you serve every day is absolutely a strategic priority for your organization. Absolutely, because it affects the bottom line. It affects morale, affects retention, affects everything, especially in today's time where we're competing with other people to hire, especially in fields like nursing and other where you're competing with hospitals and people are going to work for a community college because the pay is great. They're going to work because of all that other stuff, like appreciation that's part of that. And this last comment, a person who feels appreciated will always do more than expected. I know I do. My boss, her name is Dr. Diane Calhoun French. She has done so much for me. She is my ride or die. I will go with her wherever she wants to go. If she called me and said, I need you now, I would be there. I would be there because she appreciates me. She takes her time to listen to me and help me and coach me into being, she has 40 years experience of being a provost and to being an academic leader. Well, I want to do that one day. So for her to move me there and to coach me, hey, I'll do anything for her because I'm going to work harder and you're going to work harder when people appreciate you. So a few things we all must do. One, make people feel important at work. And that's how you personalize it when you talk to them. Get people involved. Bring people into your work. You got to grab them. You got to, especially people, you got to say, hey, I need you to help me with this. You got to go after people and bring them in because some people just don't have that skill set to kind of jump in like I do or some other people do. So you got to grab them. You got to grab those folks and bring them into your world and say, hey, you're doing a great job. And I want you to be on my team. Go after those folks. Look for the good. And I'll say that a lot today because we don't have time or money to fix everybody's weaknesses. Look for the good. And think about everything through a world of appreciation. And it costs nothing. It costs nothing. It costs you absolutely nothing to be appreciative, right? I was doing that when I was getting my doctorate. I did this co-op with a hospital, and I won't say the name of it, but it was in downtown Louisville, and it started with a Norton. And the hospital, what they did is they bought into this consulting group on organizational change. And one of the things that the managers and consultant asked the managers to do was to write 6 thank you cards a week. And the managers are like, why would we write 6 thank you cards a week? This is fake. It's a fake token of appreciation. It's fake. And the consultant said, no, it's part of our mechanism. You need to do this. Well, and I was against it too. I was like, this seems kind of sketchy. I don't think I like this. But of course, they had to do it. And what happened is the consultant was absolutely right. What it did is it caused people to look for the good. It caused people as managers. It created a mechanism like graduation where you just say, well, we got to celebrate this. It created kind of a tool and a mechanism where people had to say, I got to find something good to talk about. I got to write a thank you card to somebody. And they started seeing their coworkers in a different way. They started seeing people who they normally don't work with in a different way. They may be writing a letter to the environmental staff, right? So it changes. So thinking things through world appreciation, it kind of changes the way you think a little bit. And as my grandmother always said too, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, maybe you shouldn't say it, right? Maybe you shouldn't say it. Here's the rest of the employees rankings, and I'm going to give us some time to discuss this. Number one was appreciation, which is my number one. Number two, employees said being an insider. And what that means is they want the scoop. They want to know what's going on. You want to be communicated with. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing something happening on your campus and you don't know what's going on, or finding out that there's budget cuts and then somebody gets hired. Well, how did that happen? And it could have been a grant or something, but you don't know. If you're not informed, you're not in the know, then that could cause problems. So people want to be in the know. Number three, sympathy for problems. This means listen to me, sympathize. It doesn't say fix my problems. It says, sympathize with me. And that's a big difference. We're going to talk more about that here in a minute as well. Four is job security. Number five is money. And you want to know that money is number five? Because if you're not appreciated and you're not informed and you're not heard, it doesn't matter how much money somebody pays you, you're not going to work there. You're not going to work there. So when we're thinking about recruiting people, we're thinking about our culture, creating a positive work environment, money's important. I'm not saying it's not important. It's not a big stretch for appreciation, but it doesn't matter if you pay somebody a lot of money, because if they're not appreciated, if they're not heard, and if they're not communicated with, it doesn't matter how much you pay them. How much you pay them, they're not going to stay. And then here's 6 through 10. 6 is interesting work. 7's promotion. 8 is loyalty from the company. Number 9 is my favorite, working conditions. And here's why it's my favorite. Working conditions. If you're paid well and you work with people who are awesome and you're having fun and you're engaged and you're heard, you work in a dump. You work in a single wide trailer with a hole in the floor if you're paid well and you have fun. Right. And it's not saying that work conditions aren't important, but those other things are important too. And who cares if you build a brand new building if you don't treat the people well inside of it? I mean, it's just not as important. And number 10 is tactful disciplining. And that, of course, we talked about this. I didn't talk about this too much, but disciplining is developmental, right? You're going to develop somebody. And tactful means do it in the right way. Well, you know what? If you do these 9 things first, you're not going to have a lot of discipline problems. It's going to go away. You're going to have a lot fewer. So number 1, the takeaway is you got to appreciate people, and you have to do the little things, and the little things that you do. And sometimes the sillier and cornier, the better, like giving somebody a candy bar and just like giving somebody a candy bar and say, I just want to say you're sweet. Thanks. As corny as that sounds, that's the stuff people remember. People don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel, and how we create this culture of appreciation. Really what affects our learning environment. All right, well, let's move on, because I want to make sure I've got more time to say some things that keep kind of this theme going. And I love reading your comments because you kind of energized me as well a little bit. So number two we're going to talk about is very simple. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but number 2 is just treat people like teammates. But treat everybody like they're on your team. I know sometimes the way that we're set up, it's almost like we're in silos. I'm going to do a session this afternoon on faculty and staff, or faculty collaboration, how sometimes I feel like tech and gen ed and workforce kind of, get like this sometimes. It's really about how do you treat people like your family and your teammates. And the most important one for me is this second bullet is let people make mistakes. Let people make mistakes to learn and grow. Mistakes are proof you're trying. I don't know who said that, but I'm a little nervous when someone's so perfect. Does anybody ever feel that way sometimes? Like, it's not real to me. People are going to make mistakes, and it's not fair to hold on to that forever. And then I love that someone said this in the chat when I first opened up is, how do you help people belong? How do you make people feel a part of your community, right? How do you make them feel a part of that? Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because of the time we have, but it's really about how do you make people belong to the team? How do you make them feel a part of this? And there's a bunch of research and theory and process, but there's one process that's been around a long time that just makes sense to me. And it's like process of forming a team. And whenever I say this, I feel like I'm a rap star. I feel like I'm Drake. I'm like forming, storming, norming, performing. Like I love how that rhymes. It's so clever. But it's any relationship, right? So like first is exploration, forming. And then 2, you're gonna disagree. There's gonna be some conflict there. 3, you kind of agree to disagree. And then 4, you perform. You know who you are, you know what you're doing, and you know where you're going, right? So that's all in the process. A friend of mine was in a relationship, a brand new relationship, and he said, I said, how's things going? Oh, he said, oh, it's great. She's wonderful. Oh, it's so great. Everything's awesome. And he said, it's so great. We don't even fight. And I was like, oh, you're gonna fight. Oh no, we're not gonna fight. We're perfect for each other. And I said, oh yeah, you're gonna fight. Just wait till you play the where you want to eat tonight game. You're gonna fight. Yeah, everybody like that game? I hate that game. My wife and I fight about that game all the time. It drives me insane now. Like, what do you want to eat? Let's go to Subway. I don't like Subway. Well, you asked me what I wanted to eat, right? But same thing with your students. When your students come on campus, they don't know what's going on. They're checking the place out. Then they get lost, or they have an issue with somebody, and then they figure it out. It's the same process. The key thing for me is look, I don't care where you're from. I don't care who you are. But there's research that says there are two values that most of us can relate to each other about. One is family and one is love. We all know what family is, and we all know what love is, or most of us do. So what that means for work is, like, I'm from Eastern Kentucky. I'm from the hills, Harlan County, Eastern Kentucky. I'm working with young men and women who are from the city, who are from Louisville, right? So what am I going to have in common with them? How am I going to build a bridge to them? Well, you know how I do that? Through family and love, because my students are going to know that I care about them. The sense of inclusion, I'm going to include them. I'm going to listen to who they are and their backgrounds and what they bring to the table. I'm going to acknowledge them. I'm going to appreciate them. I'm going to listen to them, and I'm going to respect them, and they're going to respect me. We're going to respect each other. It's so difficult sometimes. I think we get caught up in all these variables of all these things. We're so focused on why we're different that sometimes I wish somebody would just say, I know we're all different, but goodness gracious, don't we all want our family to be okay? And don't we all love each other? And that's why people are coming to work, to take care of their families and love. And we can do that same thing for the people we serve. And that's why we do it. So look for the good. And, most of us don't talk about our weaknesses. We just don't do that. But we talk about things we're good at. Or I'm sorry, it's either people don't like to share their weaknesses. So focus on the things that they're good at. Focus on those things. And that's how we build a bridge to the people and who we are and what we're doing. Okay, I'm going to go to step number 3, and then we're going to stop for questions and comments and look at the chat again. Number 3, it's the most common thing that probably comes up in every Keynote workshop I do is communication. Okay, it's simply communication. And what I mean by that is 2 things. One is, I don't think sometimes people are communicating what they think they're communicating. I think you don't say, when you say things, even I do this, I think I'm saying something, but I'm not doing it the right way. Okay, so let me give you an example. This is exactly what you think it is. Can you believe that I would show a picture of a baby change the station on your keynote, on this keynote? But that is absolutely what this is. This is a picture of a baby change the station. And here's why I'm showing this. So my wife and my kids and I will go to this place called the Pie Kitchen. And the Pie Kitchen is a place in Louisville where you go get a piece of pie and you get a Coke or a coffee and some ice cream and you hang out with your family. It's a lovely family event for, like families, right? Okay. So I go to I take my daughter to change her in the men's restroom, and someone has put gang signs on the baby changing station. I laughed so hard. I barely got my daughter changed and almost peed my pants. I laughed so hard. I come out the bathroom, tears are rolling down my face. And my wife, who thinks I'm the biggest dork in the world, she's like, what are you laughing at? What is wrong with you? And I'm like, someone put gang signs on the baby change station. And she said, why is that funny? You're a dork. Why is that funny? And I said, here's why. If somebody climbs a water tower, okay, that's 2,000 feet in the air, and they tag it with their gang sign, you bad. All right. You're tough. You bad. All right. If someone hangs upside down on the interstate, climbs an interstate ladder pole and tags it with their gang sign, you tough. Okay. You're tough. But if you tag a baby change station at the Pie Kitchen in Louisville, Kentucky and St. Matthews, I am not afraid. You are not tough. You are not that bad. And my mom's like, you're a dork. But the truth is, you're not communicating what you think you're communicating. You're just not. I see the laughs. Thank y'all for laughing. I'm not the only weirdo out there. I'm laughing about it now. It cracks me up. I think people don't realize what they're saying. So let me give you some examples. And look, if you see these, my friends and brothers and sisters over at Ivy Tech, if you see these, you've got to send these to me because I collect these and I share these all the time. Okay. So these are actual signs. Okay. These are actual signs that people have sent to me or I've collected myself. Okay. Here's the first sign. This is from the Church of the Cross. Don't let worries kill you. Let the church help. I know what they're trying to say, but I don't think they're saying it in the right way, right? I'm going to say it in the right way. I just think this one's funny too. This cracks me up. This is from Burger King, and it says, SpongeBob is here hiring managers. I hear he's a tough interviewer. Lots of behavioral questions. I just think this one's funny. This is from the Clays Mill Road Baptist Church. This says, whoever stole our air conditioning units, keep one. It's going to be hot where you're going. All right. Now, this is my second favorite one. This is from Walgreens. Perfect timing with school starting, everything going on. This is from Walgreens. It says, we have all your back to school supplies. 12-pack Miller Lite, $7.99. Oh, goodness. This is from the Cape Corral Community Church. And this one says, now's a good time to visit. Our pastor is on vacation. And this last one's my favorite. I can't even say it without laughing. This is my favorite one. It hurts my head even thinking this is my favorite one. And it says, do you know what hell is? Well, come hear our preacher. Thank you, Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, for your message to my keynote, because I couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, it's so good. You know what I'm really talking about is you almost have to listen to people. And I will tell you, if there's any especially if there's any people out there, young men especially, let me tell you something. When I first I've been married 17 years. Or 16 years, be 17 this summer. And when I first got married, I was dumb. Oh my gosh, was I dumb, terribly dumb. My wife would come home from work and she'd say things like, and she works full-time job. And she's like, I'm gonna kill Rhonda. I'm gonna stab Reggie. He's driving me crazy. Work, I'm gonna kill him. And I would say dumb stuff. I'd say things like, well, baby, did you try this? You should try this. I would try this. If I was there, I would do this. Dumb. Let me tell you something. What does my wife want me to do? She wants me to listen. So now when my wife comes home and she says, I'm going to kill Rhonda, I say, baby, I drive the getaway car. I love you. When she says, I'm going to stab Reggie, I said, baby, I already dug a hole in the backyard and bought a tarp. I love you. People, just like we said in the survey we did, people want to be heard. People want to be listened to. So we all have to listen more, okay? We all have to take time. The walkway from this is just shut up. When you're talking to somebody, just shut up. Just shut up. Just don't talk. Even though you know the answer. When you're working with students and a student comes in and says, I've got this issue with financial aid. I don't know what I want to do. I got all these problems. And you're a faculty member. You're like, I don't know. Go to financial aid. I know you want to tell them that, but don't tell them. Just say, well, tell me what's going on. Let them process that, and it's going to be like magic. They're going to say, you know what? Maybe I should go to financial aid. And you go, yes, you should go to financial aid. And then pop me an email later and let me know how it went. And they're going to see you as somebody who's a listener, who's a resource for them. So I'm telling you, this is a wonderful opportunity. So don't talk so much and just listen sometimes, okay? Just listen sometimes. So real quick, there's some research on this that talks about from Carl Rogers that basically says what? Be genuine. Bring who you are listening. Be present. Treat people in a positive way. Care for them and be empathetic. Really try to understand how that person is feeling. And we call it GUI. G-U-E. I always call it GUI. Be GUI when you're working with people. And then lastly, if you're truly listening to somebody, you might be tired when it's over. You should be exhausted because you're kind of processing everything that's going on. You're tired. You're processing all the feelings that you have. So be genuine. Be positive. Care for them. And try to be empathetic. Try to put yourself in their shoes and what they're saying, right? Okay. I got some questions here in the queue or the chat. I see, someone has some Q&A here. Let's see. Someone said, some people don't connect and then complain that they don't know what's going on. They stay holed up in their office and expect information to be spoon-fed to them. You are exactly right. That's exactly the kind of people that I'm talking to. I would hope that someone has a peer or someone who has the ability to challenge them and do that in a way that develops them. Because it's real easy to say to that person, well, you don't know what the hell's going on because you're not doing anything. I mean, that's a very easy comment to say. What I would recommend that person is start bringing them with you to stuff and say, hey, I'm going to this. What's going on? Go to them. Hey, have you found out about this meeting? What's your opinion on this? Anything you can do to kind of get them to be involved. But you're right. Some people are just going to have to be spoon-fed to them. Someone says, how do you help your supervisor rebuild trust when they have lost credibility with some of their subordinates? That's a tough one. I would hope that somebody would tell me that. Stephen Covey says that people have an emotional bank account, that you have to build a relationship with somebody And you're always making positive deposits of appreciation and thank you and recognition and how you pay them and all that stuff. But there comes a time when you got to take a withdrawal. And something that serious, if someone has lost trust, what I would do first is someone's got to have a talk with that person who they respect and won't hurt their feelings, and just have a conversation that says, we have an issue where no one's talking about it, but we don't feel like we know what's going on. And then you got to invest in how do you bring that team together? How do you challenge everybody to take a risk? Because if they've already felt like they can't trust somebody, now you're asking them to take a risk to do the same thing. So you've got to have, it's a healing process. So you've got to take some time to have, and it's so corny, but like, get off campus and go somewhere together, go to a park and talk, and, hire somebody to come do a team building exercise for you. I know it sounds ridiculous, but all that stuff really matters when it comes to doing that. It's not going to happen overnight, but someone's got to have a talk with that person who they trust and respect, and do in a way that doesn't belittle them, And I'm telling you, you need, and here's the thing too. If you think, let me flip the script on this. If you've not had your boss come to you and correct your behavior, then you're not doing the right things. If your boss comes to you and says, if your supervisor comes to you, anybody watching this and says to you, I need to talk to you about something, they're not doing that because they don't like you. They're doing that because they want to help you. A lot of our jobs in the state, especially in community colleges, they're at-will employees anyway. You don't have any rights. They could get rid of you. They could just say, look, we're going to terminate your job. So if someone spends their time to come to you and say, look, I need to talk to you because your teams don't trust you. Your team is really struggling. They feel like they can't come to you and stuff. You better not get mad at that, because that means they're developing you. That is that we talked about tactful disciplining. That's that developmental conversation. And it's not about you. It's not about you. It's that if your team's not working, you're not helping the students of Indiana. If your team's not efficient, then there's gaps for you. There's absolute gaps for you in what you're doing. So, getting a little preachy here, folks, but you can tell I believe in this stuff. And I love the chats. Thank you all so much for jumping in on this and giving me the tools and motivation to keep going on this. All right, well, let's go to number 4. Number 4 is basically making a personal connection to the people that you serve, okay? Making a personal connection. And how do you do that? You do that with ownership, building friendship, establishing trust. And it's also just having fun, because when you make a personal connection to the people that you work with, you're giving a part of yourself, right? You're giving a piece. And when you give a part of yourself, you absolutely grow and you're going to change. And I've talked about changing the way you think. Well, when you give a part of yourself to work and make it personal, it changes how you think. It changes the way others think. And it also changes the way how we all view the world. Let me give you an example. These are my daughters. See the picture of my daughters? Yeah. When I had the 3 daughters, it changed me. I cry all the time now. I never cried in my life until I had 3 little girls. And now I cry all the time. My wife will come home. I'll be downstairs watching TV. She comes downstairs. I'm just bawling my eyes out. She's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I'm watching America's Got Talent. And these girls have cystic fibrosis and they're thinking, I believe I can fly. I'm like, Kelly. Ah! I just start crying. I'll watch a YouTube video and or a Facebook feed video, and I just start crying in the bed. I'll just start crying. And my wife's like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I don't know. Because it changed me, because I'm giving so much to these little girls. I'm giving so much of who I am to them, and it changes you. Well, when you do that at work, it's going to change things too. When you take risks and you make personal connections, it changes who you are, okay? So I'm going to play a little 2-minute video, and I'm going to conclude. You can find this online. This is from a CBS Evening News story by Steve Hartman. So I'm going to play this, and I want you to watch this.
We end tonight with the football play of the month. It was executed with amazing precision by the Eagles, the Olivet Eagles. Steve Hartman has the play and the post-game analysis on the road.
Between classes, they schemed and conspired. For weeks, the football players here at Olivet Middle School in Olivet, Michigan, secretly planned their remarkable play.
Did anybody go, this is a crazy idea?
No, everyone was in on it. But like the coaches didn't know anything about it. So we're like going behind their back.
I've just never heard of a team coming up with a plan to not score.
It's just like to make someone's day, make someone's week, just make them happy.
The play, which was 2 plays actually, happened at a home game earlier this month. The first part of their plan was to try to get as close to the goal line as possible without scoring, even if it meant taking a dive on the 1 yard line, which it did. The crowd was not happy. Quarterback Parker Smith.
But us kids knew, hey, we got this. This is our time. This is Keith's time.
Keith Orr is the little kid in the brown jacket. He's learning disabled, struggles with boundaries, but in the sweetest possible way. Because of his special nature, it's no surprise that Keith embraces his fellow football players.
Hug, Gabe.
What is surprising is how they have embraced him.
Hello.
We thought it'd be cool to do something for him.
Because we really wanted to prove that he was part of our team and he meant a lot to us.
Nothing can really explain getting a touchdown when you've never had one before.
Which brings us to part 2 of their play. If you didn't see Keith, it's because they were so protective of him. But he was in the middle of that rush.
And when you crossed the goal line, what was that like?
Awesome.
It was like, did he just score a touchdown?
Get your camera out.
I'm like, oh, then I can't.
Keith's parents, Carrie and Jim, almost missed the moment, but they got the significance.
Somebody's always going to have his back from now until the day he graduates.
She's right. When the football team decides you're cool, pretty much everyone follows suit. Today, Keith is a new kid, although by no means was he the only one who was profoundly changed.
What was it like for you?
It was like once I saw him go in, I was smiling about here.
Wide receiver Justice Miller.
Like nothing could wipe that smile off my face.
Why did it affect you so much?
Because he's never been cool or popular, and he went from being pretty much a nobody to making everyone's day.
Justice admits the play wasn't his idea.
I would have not really thought about that.
He says it never crossed his mind to give Keith any glory.
Well, I kind of went from being somebody mostly cared about myself and my friends to caring about everyone and trying to make everyone's day and everyone's life.
Which may just make that touchdown the most successful football play of all time. Steve Hartman on the road in Olivet, Michigan.
All right. Every time I watch this, I'm like, get the tissue out. Telly's going to make us cry. I love that. And I love that because Keith, the boy who scored the touchdown, he was happy, but his success changed everybody. That boy just at the end, what he said, I never would have thought about that. How and really how he could feel by giving something that only he could give. And it changed him. Seeing his parents and how and the other students and how they changed. So the power of giving and making a personal connection is just as important as appreciation, as working with teams and communicating with people. That's how people know you're making that strong connection. So in conclusion, as I said this, there are thousands and thousands of ways to create a positive work environment. Leaders always find a way to make things happen. John Maxwell, love his stuff, always find a way to happen. And if you be the leader and you serve others, everybody, and you take the steps to create that positive work environment, all of you are going to keep helping people and you're going to keep changing lives. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak at your summit. Thank you for everything you do for my brothers and sisters across the river. And I am always here to support you, any of you, with anything I can do. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. And Corey, I'll put my slide up and I'll hand this back to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I can see again after getting some of the tears out of my eyes. Thank you. The comments in the chat are really talking about how you make people laugh and cry and run the spectrum of emotions. So thank you.
Thank you.
We have a couple minutes here. Would you mind if we take the questions in the Q&A?
So how do we make sure that we are all honest in how we feel, but also remain optimistic? Well, I think in relationships, I think my grandmother would say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. That would be my common sense. That'd be my answer to that question, because you need to be honest with your feelings, but how you communicate that and how you say that to somebody is going to change depending who you're talking to, right? Like if our president, Dr. Ty Handy, called me right now, he'd say, phone ring. If my phone ring was, I'd be like, hello, sir, Dr. Handy, how can I help you? If my best friend called, I'd be like, what's up, player? What's going on? How you doing? I'd be a little less casual. So I think to be honest with yourself and to remain optimistic, I think you got to be honest with yourself, but you also got to be very careful in how you communicate that to other people. And we all know that's like learning styles and emotional intelligence and how people react to that. So I think that's definitely a big part of that. Let's see. Someone says here, do you have advice for nurturing relationships at work when your friendship isn't desired or appreciated? Yeah, don't give it to them. Yeah, don't give it to them. I mean, work's a 4-letter word. I think there are some people who believe in that work-life separation. I definitely think it can cause some barriers. But if you are vulnerable and you reach out to somebody to offer to do things, to help them in some way, and they don't accept that. And I'm not talking about going out to dinner with somebody. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is saying to them, hey, what's going on at home? How's your family? And they don't reward that with you. There's something going on there. I wouldn't worry about it. But remember, I'm not paying somebody at work to be friends. I'm paying them to do their job, but they have to be collegial. They have to respect each other. So one thing I would say is don't force somebody to get personally involved if they don't want it. But as an employee and someone who's helping students, they have to model appropriate behavior. They have to respect you, communicate with you, and do all those things. If they're not, then they need to have, I would say, almost like a disciplinary conversation with somebody. There's a question here. How do you get employees to believe in the mission and or vision of the organization? Well, when you build it, ask them. Ask them to build it with you. People got to get buy-in with their time. So whenever you're building a vision or organization, I'm going to talk about some of this in my session this afternoon. This afternoon, we're going to read a couple articles and kind of talk. We're going to do a little exercise. We're going to do some articles and talk about it. But one of the things that the article says is, it's really, if you want to understand what's going on, then talk to the people who know what's going on. Get on the base floor of everything. So how do you get people to get involved in the mission or vision? Then ask them, 1, to build it with you. 2, when you hire somebody, say it's important. 3, make sure they understand that everything they do is tied to it. People don't understand that every minute they have on the job is going to affect that mission. Someone who is cleaning the bathrooms at the college is even more important, just as important as someone who leads the most premier academic program at the college. Their contribution is no more or no less. And what we don't do a good job of is communicating why that's important. So I definitely think that's my kind of advice on this piece here. Why do you think there is such a disconnect between what employees want in the workplace and what leadership think they want? Oh, I don't know. That's a whole nother workshop. I think that's a whole nother workshop. I know that as someone, so I have about 90 faculty that report to me, about 6,000 students, a bunch of staff. And my strength, what I like to do is just go by and talk to them. Hey, what's going on today? How are you? And just make a connection. But sometimes you miss it. Sometimes you miss it. I don't know. I do think that you have to have opportunities to connect, to give people a voice in sharing where the organization is going. And I know a lot of our accreditation agencies talk about that process, but that shouldn't be and I hate like a check the box process. For it to be meaningful, then it has to be made meaningful by everybody in the organization. So how do you get people involved? Ask them how they want to get involved. That's how you get involved. All right. I think we'll stop. I think I'm out of questions there too. And Corey, you're taking care of me. I see you cleared out the queue. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you again so much. It's been really wonderful. You've given us a lot to think about. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of Our College, Your Voices. And another huge thank you to our speaker, Dr. Telly Sellars. This was a fun presentation, and I really hope that you enjoyed it, whether it was your first listen or your 5th. I'm your host, Kara Monroe. You can connect with me on Twitter at KNM Tweets. You can reach us by email at ourcollegeyourvoices@ivtech.edu. Don't forget, you can also leave us a voicemail at 317-572-5049. Don't forget, if you're an Ivy Tech faculty or staff member, you can join our Microsoft Teams listener community. Just open up Teams, go to the Join a Team button, and find the listener community. It's the Our College Your Voices listener community. Our website is ivytech.edu/podcast. Production assistance for this and every episode provided by Becky Campbell, Sarah Ferguson, and the Ivy Tech Community College marketing team. And our podcast concept is by Matthew Pittman. Theme music, recording, and post-production services provided by the incredible Jen Eads at the Brassie Broadcasting Company. And we will talk to you next time on Our College, Your Voices.